Hello and welcome to the RationalFanz podcast. That is RationalFanz with a Z. I'm Mason Gray, joined here by Evan Kruger.
What's happening?
Rhett Koblenz.
What's up?
And Nate Haynes.
What's up, RationalFanz Nation?
First off this morning, we are going to start off with some college basketball talk. Oklahoma gained the number 1 seed for the first time this year, and they can't even hold it for 12 hours before they go and lose to number 17 Iowa State. And then you have Kansas losing last night, Xavier losing last night, Butler, and a bunch of other top-ranked teams losing. This season in college basketball is just a madhouse.
You know, I think that really Iowa is where number one teams go to die, because you look at Kansas lost to Northern Iowa, I believe. Iowa's beat Michigan State at number 1. So you have UNI, Iowa State, and Iowa. They've all beaten number 1 teams, Iowa State beating Oklahoma. And it's just, I said it last week, I'm tired of the parody, and I don't think college basketball listened to me.
Last week you went on like a 45-second rant there about how college basketball parity needs to stop and there just needs to be one top team. And there absolutely is not one top team this season.
I'd settle for top teams, like 10 top teams, but there aren't any. I'd say any team in the top 25 can beat any other team in the top 25 any day, even an unranked team, because like Duke lost 3 in a row to unranked teams for the first time since like 1840. So
2006, 2007.
Same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, so, kind of with you saying Iowa, I think, honestly, that what should be happening is we should be looking to get our next number 1 team from Iowa in the Iowa Hawkeyes. They've beat Michigan State twice. Once when they were the number 1 seed, and then once when and then when Michigan State was the fourth ranked team, and the second time was with Denzel Washington or Valentine, sorry, wrong guy. And they didn't just beat them; they handled them both times. Iowa is such a good team. I think that they should be the number 1 ranked team in the nation for at least a couple hours.
At least a couple. Indiana has looked pretty good in the past couple of weeks as well, going 6-0 in the Big Ten. I know, Evan, you really like that, but
Indiana, it's a team that we can't really tell right now if they're a good team or not. They started the season off slow, 5-3. Then they've won 11 straight. And now that they're kind of back in the conversation, they're number 25 in the AP ranking. They'll probably go up after the destruction that they caused against Illinois in the real Assembly Hall, mind you, not Illinois' fake Assembly Hall. And now we kind of wait, because all of Indiana's best games, all of their toughest games, are pretty much in the second half of their season. They don't play Iowa, Michigan State, Purdue for a while. And so I'm gonna kind of hold off before I crown them. All right, they're a good team again. But I think it's at least reasonable to say that Indiana will be, at least a 5 seed in the tournament and probably higher.
She's looking at their schedule right now. That's one of the most backloaded schedules that I have ever seen. They go at Michigan State, they're home against Purdue, at Iowa, and they play Maryland, all in 3 or 4 week stretch. And that's crazy. They haven't played a single good team in the Big Ten, really. I mean, they've played Ohio State and Wisconsin. Those are all right teams, but they haven't played a good team in the Big Ten yet.
And that's why I'm kind of nervous about those games, especially going on the road to Michigan State and to Iowa. Indiana has always underperformed on the road. Like, they almost lost to Minnesota. I mean, they only won by 7 against struggling Minnesota, who hasn't even won a conference game this past Saturday. So, those are the kind of games that make you nervous. But the games at Assembly Hall, especially, thank goodness, they're playing Purdue at home this year. So they might actually get a win for the first time in 3 years.
SMU, what are they, like 16-0, 15-0?
18-0.
18-0. They're 18-0, and like you said, maybe they should be number 1.
Yeah, I mean, college basketball is, it's a whole different world than college football, where in college basketball, your strength of schedule doesn't really mean that much until the end of the season. But with college football, you have to have a good strength of schedule as your season goes on to stay up at the top. And while I don't think SMU has played the strongest schedule, they also haven't played the weakest. but that just comes with the conference that they're in. And, sitting at 18-0, I think if you can maintain an undefeated record that long, then you should probably be the number one ranking, at least be considered. They're sitting at number 8 right now, and, I think they could make a push to the top if they could, win their next 2 games and get to 20-0. But they can't make the tournament this year because of all that's going around them with their coach, Larry Brown, and all that. But it's really disappointing to see a team playing this well, and they're not going to have anything to show for it at the end of the season.
Yeah, as a fan, I almost want my team to have a tougher schedule so that they can prove their worth against those tougher teams. And so,
or prove they're worth less in some cases.
In some cases, if they really stink, yeah. But, if you just, back into the tournament, hey, we're a 10th seed or whatever, then you're almost gonna have false hope, and you're gonna end up losing the first or second round. And in my opinion, I think it just prepares you better if you play better teams. And that's one benefit the Big Ten has with their teams. They're always facing pretty good competition. So
I just took a look at the RPI rankings, and there's some pretty surprising stuff in here. Indiana is number 44 in the RPI rankings, behind UC Irvine, Seton Hall, Davidson, George Washington, St. Joseph's, and Monmouth. A bunch of really bad teams. They must not be that bad, but
Monmouth is awesome.
At least their bench.
Yeah.
But Monmouth is number 18 in the RPI rankings at 14-4. That's crazy.
RPI factors in, but what the tournament commission, or whatever you want to call it, the committee, what they look for more is more quality wins as opposed to just your RPI ranking. And I guess with Indiana, you can look at their win over Ohio State, winning by as much as they did, and then beating Notre Dame, who just took out Duke this weekend. So quality wins as opposed to RPI, I know they're kind of related, but even if you're not too high on the RPI ranking, if you can beat a ranked team or two, then I think you're going to be fine.
This has been, I would say the best year of college basketball that I've seen in a long time, just because there's not a huge gap between your top teams and your middle pack teams and then your lower class teams. They're all kind of almost on the same line, and you never really know who's going to be the dominant team. And so when the tournament comes, I've said this before, but when the tournament comes, it's going to be really hard to pick which team is going to win because, you've got so many teams that are playing well and so many teams that are playing hard. So it's just going to be a great tournament when we finally get there. And, the best tournament in the United States is always fun to watch. So I'm just really excited to watch this year.
I'm going to love it because I always pick my brackets upset heavy, and then I usually end up looking like an idiot. And I'll probably pick the wrong upsets this year. That's guaranteed.
Just don't pick Iowa State and you'll be fine.
Hey, the way they looked against Oklahoma, I'm leaning towards picking them again. But I'll probably pick all the wrong upsets, and my bracket will just end up going to crap anyways. But that's exactly what my bracket does every season.
Everybody's bracket does that every season, Mason.
Let's go to the NFL now. You had the 4 big divisional round games, and I want to start with the Panthers Seahawks. You all knew that was coming.
Of course we did. What I didn't see coming was that rally by the Seahawks and that almost near choke by the Panthers, which would have been hilarious.
How are you not worried by this? This is the second time this season they've almost blown a massive lead in the second half. They were up 35-7 against the New York Giants. And then they came back and they tied the score. 28 points unanswered in the second half. And now you're up 31-0, and your secondary is so abysmal that you give up 24 unanswered points and almost choke yourself out of the NFC Championship game. How are you not the least bit worried by this, Mason? I would be.
I was definitely worried, not to say the least, about the Seahawks mounting a comeback. But in most of the Panthers games, their defense looks absolutely terrible in the second half. Their defensive line can put no pressure on the quarterback. I mean, you got a pretty thin defensive line as it is, and they play well in the first half, but come second half, they're all tired or whatever, and they can't put any pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, a lot of that just comes with halftime adjustments. Now the Seahawks are done this season, but they've always been pretty good with adjustments, and they look like a completely different team the second half. And next week going up against the Cardinals with who knows what the Cardinals are going to look like next week. We'll talk about that later, but the Panthers just gonna have to get that under control, and hopefully their defensive line can get more pressure on the Cardinals.
Their defensive line, they just lost Jared Allen for the rest of the playoffs as well. He broke his foot or something, so he's out. And now their defense, especially their defensive ends get a lot weaker right now.
Their secondary, I see, is their biggest problem. Everybody all season talking about how great the Panthers secondary is. Well, they have Josh Norman and a bunch of scrubs. Because, you have Josh Norman out there. He's going to take away your number one receiver. But the rest of those guys have huge, big red targets on their back because they can't cover anything. I mean, Russell Wilson was throwing the ball at will in the second half against the Panthers. And I think that if Russell Wilson's going to exploit that, I think Carson Palmer can too, even if he looks like he did in the divisional round, throwing interception after interception after dropped interception.
Yeah, this is a problem with a lot of teams too. When the Panthers, they built such a huge lead, 31-0, they just played to win in the second half. They went so conservative, and the rifles that we saw from Newton earlier in the game, he just wasn't throwing them. Or their offensive coordinator Mike Shula, right, Mason?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't calling the aggressive plays that he was the first half, and that almost doomed him in the second half. But luckily, the Seahawks offense was so awful they couldn't even put up 3 points. So
the Panthers played too conservative there in the second half. They were trying to milk the clock, run the ball down, get 3 good running plays, and then they'd end up punting. In the first half, they were taking deep shots and trying to find Greg Olsen, Ted Ginn, or whoever you wanted to find. And obviously, that showed what would happen because they went up 31-0. But then, when they got too conservative, nothing really went right for them.
Well, the Seahawks made the right halftime adjustment. Panthers made the wrong halftime adjustment. Luckily for the Panthers, they did score enough points in the first half to keep Seattle from rallying. But I think that just shows you how dangerous of a team Seattle really is and how good of a quarterback Russell Wilson is as well, because he was the driving force behind that entire comeback. They had no running game. When Russell Wilson is your leading rusher at 32 yards, that's a terrible game. So he was carrying the team on his shoulders. And honestly, people say that Russell Wilson's an overrated quarterback, which may be true, but I really like him because he works hard and he gets it done for his team when they need him to.
I'd just like to point out that in last week's podcast, Nate made his prediction of a 31-23 Panthers victory. I don't know if you remember that or not, but
nice.
Yeah, not bad at all. I always know what I'm talking about on this podcast, so you should pay close attention to me. Let's talk a little bit now about the Cardinals-Packers game.
Oh my!
I told you guys this earlier, but Carson Palmer, he looked kind of like Carson Ponder. What in the world was that? He looked like a guy who'd never won a playoff game before. Oh wait, he hadn't before that game, and I think the nerves really got to him. And Carson Palmer, he can't play like that against the Panthers. There's no way they're gonna win. It's just the Packers are really awful, and they found some way to blow that game. I don't know how. They screw up the coin flip, I guess. But hey, that's life. That's how it goes. And Clay Matthews, shut up. They should not change the overtime rules.
I know we're talking about the playoffs here, but what we've seen from the Packers in the last 8 weeks or so, how many wins do you think that they get next year? I think they're going to be a 7-9 team, honestly. I've had maybe getting Jordy Nelson back will somehow magically fix all of their problems. Maybe Jordy Nelson coming back will inspire Eddie Lacy to buy a treadmill or maybe a Bowflex or something, do some crunches. I don't know, because I was right. He was too fat to play, but not fat enough to be told that he's too fat to play until the offseason. I was right.
I was gonna say, did you
called
see what
that
Mike McCarthy said about him?
like 6 weeks ago.
Mike McCarthy said something to the effect of, at the way he was this season, he's not going to play next year. I mean, you got to be brutally honest with him. You know, he didn't really do much for the Packers this season, which, you know, you can probably attribute that to his weight. Some changes need to be made with the Packers organization. And, you know, Aaron Rodgers can take you so far, but he's going to run out of some Hail Mary magic eventually.
You know, I was watching a Highly Questionable with Dan Lebitard, and he was reading some of Eddie Lacy's tweets.
Oh my!
And they were like, I really want a mac and cheese right now. Man, I just want a sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle. Been eating gummy bears for the past 30 minutes. I just love food so much. And that's kind of you don't really want to hear that from your star running back. You said something about how he was eating when he was supposed to be working out or something.
My goodness.
And I mean, do it. Just don't tweet about it. All right.
Derrick Henry, you have a model of what not to be in the NFL.
You know, how many times can the Packers get so gosh darn lucky this season?
Well, here's the thing. No one knows how to defend the Hail Mary anymore. You know, with the Lions game and the Cardinals game, you know, the defenders in the end zone, they just go behind the guy who goes up for the touchdown, and they just tackle him. Oh, maybe he'll drop it.
Okay, what were the Cardinals doing rushing like 5 or 6 guys on a Hail Mary?
I know.
Like, I understand that you want to get pressure on him, but when you have a one-on-one matchup between Jeff Janis and Patrick Peterson for the jump ball, and Peterson's not the biggest dude, he's going to lose that jump ball 9 times out of 10. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. But Bruce Arians, he laid an egg against the Cardinals. You know, that was horrible coaching. That is just bad coaching. You don't let them come back like that. You know, it's just ridiculous. And the Packers aren't that good, but the media is going to drool over them. Oh, they can.
It's because they have Aaron Rodgers, and he can throw a ball like the entire length of the field almost.
Yeah, basically. That's basically why.
But that throw that he made on the Hail Mary was just absolutely amazing.
It was just a prayer. He wasn't looking. He's running to his left, and he just chucks the ball up. He's not even looking when he lets it go. Gets hit, knocked to the ground, looks up, and all of a sudden his guy's got the ball in the end zone. Luckiest team in the NFL this season is the Packers.
Jeff Janis. What? Who? Was he even on the Packers roster before this week?
He had no. Let's see.
I think
what
he
did
had
they say?
2 catches.
Like 2 catches and no touchdown catches. All of a sudden, he explodes for 7 catches, 145 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this game. What in the world, Green Bay?
Janis. You know, if Jeff Janis can, a guy he's probably mediocre most likely, can do that to the Cardinals secondary. Imagine what Ted Ginn Jr. can do.
Oh my!
Who's slightly less mediocre. He's gonna have like 10 catches for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. if Patrick Peterson can't remember how to play defense.
But you know, Jeff Janis caught the other the 4th and 20 there as well. Like, how do they let Jeff Janis be so wide open on the 4th and 20, and then he somehow miraculously pulls down a touchdown catch?
Who knows? I don't know, and I don't care because the Packers are eliminated. So okay, let's talk about the Chiefs-Patriots game. You know, the Chiefs. Well, you know, technically, I guess they were the hottest team in the NFL, winning 11 games.
That was my Super Bowl pick.
Hey, it's all right. But anyway, you know, the Chiefs, you know, I was a little bit worried about the Patriots, honestly, in this game. You know, Brady, you know, he didn't look good the last, 6 weeks of the regular season. But, man, the Patriots, they look pretty darn good against the Chiefs, you know, for supposedly how good the Chiefs were. And, you know, I think that game was more about the Patriots, you know, just playing better than the Chiefs. And, you know, we see this every year, almost every year in the playoffs from the Patriots. You know, they just know what they're doing. And, hey, my Super Bowl pick, Patriots over Cardinals, is still alive. So, bada bing, bada boom.
Can somebody dethrone the Patriots in the AFC, please? 5 straight AFC title games. And this is Tom Brady's 10th. Can someone just be good and beat them and not let them win all the time?
You know, I'd completely forgotten that Chiefs Patriots was even starting. It was like 6 o'clock on Saturday, and I'm sitting on my couch, and I get a notification. Oh, Gronk touchdown! I'm like, oh no, I forgot, and it's already bad. It was like 14-6 at halftime. You know, can we take a minute to appreciate how bad Andy Reid is with clock management? Like they used 2 timeouts in one drive. 2 timeouts
You
in
can't
one
do
drive.
that.
That's impressive.
Not when you have sidelines. You can't do that.
Oh, and they weren't going to win anyways. But even still, come on, Chiefs. You were not our only hope, but you were our best hope because the Broncos apparently can't score touchdowns. Speaking of the Broncos, they can't score touchdowns. I mean, there were a total of 8 field goals in the Broncos-Steelers game. 5 from Brandon McManus. That's like Adam Vinatieri 2006 versus the Baltimore Ravens divisional round where the Colts had him kick 5 field goals for him. And it just kind of made you think, this team can't win a Super Bowl. They're not going to beat the Patriots. I mean, their first 6 points came because of a good punt return and a complete shank from the 2-yard line on a Pittsburgh punt.
They got 6 points out of 2 drives starting inside the Pittsburgh 40.
Like for
That's
the first,
terrible.
In the first half, their average starting field position was like their own 40 or like the 50-yard line or something.
And at halftime, they had 9 points.
It was just sad to watch. I was thinking, all right, if either team wins, neither of these teams are going to beat the Patriots if they play like they did.
If we don't want the Patriots to get a back-to-back Super Bowl title, we need the NFC to step up and beat the Patriots. And quite frankly, I hate the Patriots. That's all I have to say.
You know, Peyton Manning, you can criticize him for having a bad game, which he kind of did. But oh my, at the drops, they had stone hands out there.
At least he didn't get picked off.
It wasn't just their scrubs. It was Emmanuel Sanders. It was Demaryius Thomas out there dropping passes. And it's not like it was negative 10 degrees like in Minnesota. It was 45 at half at a kickoff. And so I don't understand how that happens to professional football players where you drop like 9 passes in a game.
The problem with Pittsburgh is they had absolutely no running game at all.
Yep.
You know, their leading rusher was Martavis Bryant.
Oh.
2 carries for 40 yards. Those are probably like in around jet sweep type stuff, you know?
Flukish, yeah.
But I mean, Fitzgerald Toussaint was their running back, so what do you expect?
Well, yeah, so then he ended up having that costly fumble. But when they were up 13-12, he's like, oh, hey, I'll fumble. And then the Broncos magically decided to change their game plan. They're like, oh, hey, maybe if we run the ball, we can actually score a touchdown. And guess what? They ended up doing that and winning. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Manning, he just, even his receivers had a lot of drops. But a lot of it was just dink and dunk stuff, That's kind of been the story the whole season. He just doesn't have the arm that he used to. I still think they should have started Brock Osweiler, but hey, you know what? Win's a win, and in the end, they're going to the AFC Championship game, unfortunately. And somehow they have a home game, and somehow they're the worst 12-4 team I've ever seen. But like with the Steelers, going into the playoffs, I kind of thought, man, this team is not that good, especially without Le'Veon Bell and D'Angelo Williams. And I was basically right. With the Steelers, once they lose that running game, they can't run to set up the pass, or even effectively pass to set up the pass, and it ended up killing them. So you stink, Steelers.
Going into the AFC side of the divisional round, both teams lost their big playmaker wide receiver. So obviously you can't say you saw it coming, because in the NFL anything can happen. But you can almost say you saw it coming, because neither of the losing teams had a very good offense. I mean, the Chiefs lost Jamal Charles long ago. Steelers lost Le'Veon Bell, and they were down to their second, third, maybe fourth string running back. And they both lost Jerry Maclin and Antonio Brown, respectively. So I'm not sure how you didn't see both teams losing there.
Interesting little factoid. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now the only team to ever play a playoff game without their leading rusher and receiver from the regular season. And obviously that's going to hurt you. But with the Chiefs, you'd think, all right, they just lost. Well, they didn't even lose Jeremy Maclin. Did he play?
He played.
Yeah, he played, but he wasn't
Oh.
that sharp.
Yeah, it's
And you got to think, all right, they're still going to be okay. But you remember Jeremy Maclin, it's hard to make cuts with a bum ankle. And then they have no one else that can catch passes besides maybe Travis Kelce. And so you see the importance of weapons. And you think if you're going to go based on weapons, you'd have to say that the two best teams left are the Cardinals and the Broncos based on the weapons that they have on their team. Because the Patriots don't. They have Gronk. That's pretty much it. But, the Broncos, you think, all right, Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, well, they kind of stunk. So the team that has the best weapons, I think, is the Arizona Cardinals. Larry Fitzgerald turning back the clock. He looks like 2008 Larry Fitzgerald out there catching passes from Kurt Warner. And so I think that on that front, I have the most confidence in the Arizona Cardinals.
I don't even want to be reminded of the 2008 Cardinals because that was a bad time for the Panthers.
What?
5 interceptions.
Oh.
Jake Delhomme threw 5 interceptions on his birthday. They were the 1 seed in the divisional round,
Wow.
and he threw 5 interceptions on his birthday.
Yeah, it's just not that good. But anyway, looking forward to the
Conference
Cardinals
champions.
at Panthers. Yeah, Cardinals at Panthers game. I think this has the potential to be one of the best championship games we've ever seen. Well, NFC championship
Agreed.
games.
Ooh.
Agreed.
I think this game is going to be really, really tight, and it's going to come down to who makes the play. Who wants to get to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I have to stick with my Super Bowl pick in order to be right. Like I usually am, but continue my streak of rightness on this podcast. I'm gonna go the Arizona Cardinals over the Carolina Panthers, 34
Oh,
to 28.
is it going to be 28-0 at halftime for the Panthers, and then the Cardinals are going to rattle off 34
Yes.
points in the second half?
That is how it's going to happen. Yes.
Okay, so this is an intriguing game. You've got the Panthers, who no one expected them to end up 15-1 this season, and yet through superb defensive play and just Cam Newton making the little plays to get his team wins, here they are 15-1 on the verge of going to the Super Bowl. And you've also got the Cardinals, who are a team not built up of superstars, but rather a bunch of key role players who all work together extremely well and make a really good team. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Cardinals in this one. I'm going to take them. Well, let's see here. I think it'll be fairly low scoring. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Cardinals 21-17.
All right, this is a tough game to break down because you have two really, I think, evenly matched teams almost. You got two quarterbacks with big arms. You got two tough defenses. But I just want to take a moment to say how impressed I have been with the amount of the returns that they've got on the money that they've spent. They got cheap veteran players like Dwight Freeney with really cheap contracts out there playing out of their minds. They've been able to, kind of transform players' careers. And I think that's something that the Cardinals have really benefited from. That being said, I did pick the Panthers in the Super Bowl this year. And so in order to retain my respectability, I think I have to pick them now. I like the Cardinals a lot. But I think that the Panthers win 28-27.
This game could go either way. Honestly, it's going to be a tight one.
Well, so it's 2-1 Cardinals, and we know it's going to be a split decision here because everyone who listens to us knows I'm taking the Carolina Panthers.
Wait, you're a Panthers fan? What?
See, the three of
What
us
the
are
heck?
unbiased. Nate's team got beat by the Seahawks first round, and Evan and I's team didn't even make the playoffs. So we're not biased here. But Mason, go ahead and make your homer pick
Hey.
like you do every week.
Hey, he's just rational. That's all. All right, go.
I've only been wrong picking the Panthers once this season, so.
Oh, yeah, shut up.
But, for the Panthers to win this game, I think they need to keep Carson Palmer in the pocket and put the pressure on Carson Palmer. I forget the exact stats, but when the Panthers keep the opposing quarterback in the pocket, they have a top 3 quarterback rating against them. But when the quarterback gets outside the pocket, they have like bottom 3 quarterback rating against them. And the Cardinals, Carson Palmer doesn't ever leave the pocket. Like his pocket, when he gets out of the pocket, it's only like 6 or 7% of the time on any of his passes, and that's only behind like 3 other teams.
I feel like you're making that stat up. I just get the. Did you just pull that out of your rear end? 6 to 7%. That sounds reasonable. He has 5 1/3 quarterback rating. I don't know.
But here's the thing: watching the Cardinals-Packers game, the most important play of the game that Carson Palmer made, rolled out of the pocket to his right, threw across the field and found Larry Fitzgerald, and Larry took off and did the rest. You know, that's an example of what Carson Palmer can do. He's old, sure, but he does still have the ability to get out of the pocket every once in a while. And when he does, he makes some plays. So I don't think that'll really change the game that much.
Well, you see, I don't even think that's the main key to the game. I think the real key to the game is the Panthers got to get their run game going, with Jonathan Stewart. If he can, when their offense was doing well against the Seahawks, Jonathan Stewart was, churning off, runs of 7-8 yards, and it kept the offense going and opened up the playbook for him, and that's what allowed him to be more aggressive too. And Jonathan Stewart also picked up some critical first downs in the second half, which allowed the Panthers to hold off the Seahawks, from scoring that 31 points that they needed, which they almost got. But hey, just get that running game going, and eventually the Cardinals defense is going to get worn out, and the Panthers will be able to win that way. So just get the run game going.
Panthers and Cardinals, maybe not the Cardinals so much, but this is like 1970s football where you have a smash mouth defense, a really good running game, and then a quarterback that can throw when he needs to, but most of your game relies on your running game and your defense.
You know who the Cardinals kind of make me think of? The good old Eric Coryell, San Diego Chargers with Dan Fouts just chucking it around the field. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive back in the 80s. I'm a youngin'. But that's kind of the feel that I get. But their defense is actually able to stop people sometimes. Whether that's going to happen, I don't know, because, Hail Mary. That's all I need to say.
My prediction for the Panthers game is 28-21. Panthers win by a touchdown.
Fair enough.
And
Fine.
Moving on to the AFC, everybody.
All right, the AFC Championship game. We surprisingly have the New England Patriots on the road against the Denver Broncos, and the Patriots are going to smother the Broncos. This game, in my opinion, is going to be a complete blowout. Unless maybe the Broncos get their running game going somehow. Which they proved is their only legitimate offense against the Steelers this past weekend. But I just don't think the Broncos have what it takes to beat the Patriots this year. Brady, I think Brady's really going to exploit that defense like a lot of teams have this year. And, actually, it's a rematch from earlier this year where the Broncos with Brock Osweiler beat the Patriots. But this is the Broncos with Peyton Manning trying to beat the Patriots. So,
but this is a reloaded Patriots team. They've gotten so many people back since then. This is not the same Patriots team that we saw that went in that first matchup weeks ago.
Yeah. With my prediction, I'm going to go with Patriots 35, Broncos 14.
ooh,
It's going to be a blowout.
I don't think it'll be that bad. Unfortunately, I do think that New England is going to win this game. So I'm going to go ahead and take New England at, I'm going to give them, I'll give them 31 points. And then I'll take, how many do I want to give the Broncos? I don't want to be too generous. We'll call 31-21. Patriots win.
You know what Tom Brady's record in Denver is? 2-4. You know the two quarterbacks that he's beaten? One of them's Tim Tebow, and the other one is so irrelevant I can't even remember his name. The Denver Broncos are at home, and they have one of the best defenses that I've seen in a long time. You know how many times they've given up 30 points this year? Once. You know how many times they've given up 300 passing yards? Twice. And those were both to Ben Roethlisberger playing from behind. And so you say they're going to exploit their defense, and that's a lot easier said than done. They do have a really good defense. They have an excellent pass rush, and really the Patriots' weakness all year has been their offensive line. Julian Edelman, you know, he was kind of important against the Chiefs. He had like 5 catches or so.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't see any reason to be too excited about the Patriots in this one, really. I think if the Broncos can play at their best, they can beat the Patriots. That being said, I picked the Patriots to get to the Super Bowl. To retain my respectability, I have to pick the New England Patriots, so I think that they will win 30-23.
You know, I really want to pick the Broncos in this game. I mean, Peyton Manning.
I just convinced you, didn't I?
Oh.
I've been on the fence all week about it, and I really do like the Broncos, but the Patriots really haven't been at full strength with their offense, except for last week, and they went 2-4 down the stretch. But like I said, they were never at full strength. So, and obviously, I picked the Patriots in my preseason predictions, so I'm gonna have to pick them to stay with my predictions, and I'm gonna go like 31-23.
But are the New England Patriots at full strength? Their running game sucks. They had like 32 yards against the Chiefs.
That's true.
Maybe Tom Brady can fabricate some of the running game with short passes, but even still, it's kind of hard to control the ball when, you know, you have 90-year-old Steven Jackson as your leading rusher.
Yeah.
I'm just not inspired by the New England Patriots. They're going to win. I know that they're going to win. It's just I don't see why. Neither of these teams are great teams. This is probably, I think, the worst Patriots team that I've seen in an AFC Championship game, honestly. I mean, their defense is one of the better ones, but their offense is not.
You know, in our preseason show, we listed the Patriots Super Bowl odds. What was it, like 20-1 or 25-1? Or
No, it was like 10-1, I think.
I
Yeah,
thought-
something like that.
But we told everybody to go bet on the Patriots, and that's looking like a good pick now. So if anybody actually listens to us and they made a Patriots bet,
We're happy to take a cut of your earnings.
Yep.
We'll gladly, humbly accept it.
Yep.
I thought they were a lot higher than 10-1 though.
Well, they were like 4th or something like that. But even still, just not having them first, I thought it was a good play to put all your money on them. And I was right.
All right. Well, you know, I wanted to take a little time here to talk about the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams, you know, recently announcing they're officially moving to LA, and they're going to play in the Los Angeles Coliseum for the next couple of years, which is USC Stadium, until they open their new stadium in 2019. Rams owner Stan Kroenke, I'm sorry if I just butchered his name. Sorry, Rams fans. But anyway, he a while back he announced that, you know, he's gonna build a stadium in LA whether the Rams like it or not, and hey, that's what he's going with now. And with what the Rams are doing, this plan. I might end up writing a article on RationalFanz, you know, about this stadium. It's pretty cool. He recently took out $1 billion loan, which is nothing for him. But anyway, this stadium is projected to cost, you know, $2.66 billion to $3 billion.
Oh my goodness.
That is insane, considering that the most expensive stadium in the world was MetLife in New York, which is built in, I believe, or finished in 2010, I believe, for the Jets and Giants. But, you know, when I look over the plans and stuff, you know, the stadium, it doesn't really have like a home field advantage to it. You know, it almost feels like a publicity stunt. You know, like they're just there to make the money, which is of course the whole city of Los Angeles. But you know, they're trying to get the Chargers to sign on with them to play in this stadium too. And, you know, it's a neat stadium, but, you know, I feel like it's kind of like with Jerry World, you know, oh, let's make it huge and big and awesome in Texas and Jumbotron and Jerry World. But, you know, do they really win all that much in Dallas? No. You know, Romo just chokes all the time in AT&T Stadium. You know, this stadium will be pretty neat. You know, it's something that'll be really cool to host Super Bowls in. But, you know, in the end, it's all about the money.
You know, St. Louis really drew the short end of this, the short stick here. They got completely screwed.
No doubt.
Back in 1995, they fell in love with cranky. Oh, we're gonna build a stadium. We're gonna come to St. Louis. We're gonna build a champion. And now they're out of a team and they're stuck. Taxpayers in St. Louis are stuck still paying for a stadium that's not going to be used. Now their team is 600 miles away in Los Angeles. They got hosed. I like the way that Bleacher Report put it. They said, in a surprise twist in human history, a multi-billionaire ignores the will of the people and does exactly what he wants to do. And that's kind of what happened here.
A small loan of $1 billion, eh, Stan? Well, you know, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this move because, you know, if the Colts were, I don't know, to move for some reason, I don't know why they would. It just runs in the Irsay family, I guess. But you know, if they were just to get up and leave, I don't know. I'd be really devastated because I wouldn't be sure, you know, who to root for or anything. I might follow the Colts, but more than likely I'd go with the next closest team or root for the Browns, and I don't want to root for the Bears or the Browns. So, but I feel for St. Louis, you know, because they're losing their team, and you know, while they haven't been very good in recent years, they had a little bit of a nice streak. But yeah, I honestly just wish that fans wouldn't have to go through that kind of thing. But you know, there's a lot of moving going on in the NFL right now, and that's to be expected.
You know, what happens if Jim Irsay has a little too much tequila and then scribbles down on a napkin, "Hey, I want to move to Omaha, Nebraska," or something.
Omaha.
I don't know.
You know, I think I saw somewhere, I'm looking it up now, but I think I saw somewhere where the Rams were dead last in attendance.
Oh, yeah.
For the past year or two. And so, I mean, obviously you got to do something to get some more fans in your stadium. And moving to Los Angeles might have been, St. Louis, dead last in the NFL with an average of 52,402 people per game. That's terrible.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Horrible.
Considering the Edward Jones Dome held I don't know, maybe 65,000 fans. Yeah, what was it? Opening kickoff this last year, they only filled 80% of their stadium, you know? I mean, sure, the Rams aren't that good, but, you know, even, you know, the bad teams, they still have better attendance records than that. And, you know, they're with the Rams, you know, it just doesn't feel like they were ever, you know, all that supported in St. Louis, you know? I mean, sure, you know, with the greatest show on turf and Kurt Warner and all those guys, you know, oh, hey, let's bandwagon and root for the Rams. Yeah, oh, they're good. Then once he left town and their team crumbled, you know, the fans, they stopped going and they started going to St. Louis Cardinals games, which, hey, they're pretty good. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the Rams fans, you know, they're in Los Angeles. You know, they've been
It's true.
waiting since 95 for their team return, which they
Here they
finally
come.
have. Yeah, over 20 years. And, but the team I feel bad for, though, is, well, the fans I feel for, though, are the ones in San Diego with the Chargers, you know, because the Chargers have been there all this time, and, you know, they're just gonna leave. Why?
It's the taxpayers' fault. They don't want to pay for a new stadium. That's what it is.
Yeah, the city's cheap, and, you know,
Yep.
these stadiums, they cost at least $1 billion.
They cost a
now.
lot of money.
Yeah, and if you're not willing to dish that money out, the team's gonna leave,
Yep.
and so, you know, that's life. Oh well.
You know, the saddest thing about this whole move, I saw a picture that it was guys were in the Edward Jones Dome taking down the banners of the St. Louis Rams, and that just was like, wow, like all the accomplishments of that team are going to be forgotten because they don't exist anymore. Sure, the Rams are still around, but it's not the same team. They're a totally different state, different fan base. You know, that's what really gets me, is that their accomplishments are probably going to be forgotten.
You know, you can just be happy that it's not our team, though, so it's
Woo.
okay. Poor Rams. You know, only thing that I really actually care about here, like I don't care about the Rams at all. What I care about more than anything is the fact that they didn't change their colors back to that classic LA Rams look. With that light blue, the yellowish gold, those were cool.
There's still talk going around that they might, but they just put out the preliminary Los Angeles Rams logo.
Because
it is. It just has Los Angeles on it.
Because when I see the new Rams colors, I think the St. Louis Rams with Mark Bolger out there winning 8 games, Jeff Fisher, you know, sending in Nick Foles or whoever the heck he did after Nick Foles got a concussion, or I don't even know.
Case Keenum?
Whenever I see those colors, more than anything, I'm going to think Shop Vac Fire, though.
Yeah.
And Nate, you were right. It was a ploy to move to Los Angeles. You were right.
Yep. Yeah, you know, I think, you know, it's interesting, though, you know, after all these years, you know, these owners threatening, oh, you know, hey, we're going to move to Los Angeles. You know, they never did, but it's cool to see this come to fruition. But yeah, you know, this whole move will just be interesting in seeing, you know, how the Rams and Chargers respond to this. Because, you know, historically, uprooted teams or, you know, teams in their new cities for the first couple of years, you know, they kind of struggle.
Yeah.
The Chargers still have some potential. Their defense stinks. So does their offensive line. They're going to have to fix that. The Rams still need a quarterback, but we'll see. But, yeah, I think they will be able to fill the stands in Los Angeles.
Is this like the same Los Angeles stadium that's going to shoot like lightning bolts out of it or something?
This is a completely different one. I'll make a article on it on RationalFanz so y'all can read it.
Our blog is not dead. It's just dormant. There's a difference. But we write stuff sometimes.
Podcast is alive.
Woo! Thanks, Rational Fans Nation.
Yes,
we love your
thank you.
support.
Yes.
You know, I know Evan wants to talk about this for a second. Talk about the NBA and why LeBron is completely irrelevant now.
All right, so you guys probably watched the Cleveland Cavaliers get smashed by the Golden State Warriors 132-98. And it raises some questions about the balance of power in the NBA and where the limelight is currently resting. You know, LeBron James, he's always been in favor of, you know, sharing the limelight with his teammates. But that's given the fact that the limelight will still be shining on him somewhat. But that's kind of not happening. He's becoming irrelevant, I think. There's been a lot of articles written about this topic, and I kind of wanted to give my analysis. The Golden State Warriors, they're the it team right now. Steph Curry is the it player. LeBron James, who has been so great for so long, we've kind of been desensitized to his greatness, and now he's kind of just in the background. And I don't know if it's LeBron James's fault. He can't do it all anymore. He just can't. You still see the greatness. He's still the best basketball player on earth, I think. But, you know, the balance of power is shifting, and his teammates aren't stepping up to the challenge. The plan when he came to Cleveland was to see Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and these other players rise as he fell to meet them. But that's not what's happened. Kevin Love has been a liability, not an asset. Have you seen some of his defense? There's plays where he just stands there. He plays defense like James Harden. Kyrie Irving's been hurt a lot. His team has let him down. You know, J.R. Smith showed up late to the Golden State Warriors game only to get ejected because of a technical foul or an intentional foul, whatever it was. And it's just a shame to see this happen to such a great player. Everybody hates LeBron, but at the end of the day, his legacy, it's already cemented. But are we seeing the end of an era? Do you think that LeBron James is irrelevant?
You know, I would kind of agree. We are seeing the end of an era, but not just with him. We're seeing what us as 16 and 17-year-olds know as the NBA. We're seeing that change. We know Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, you know, well, even Dwight Howard, he was good for a little while. Those kind of guys, we know them as the face of the NBA. But right now, it's becoming the young guy's turn to step in. At one point, LeBron James was a young guy, but LeBron James has always been the face of the NBA. He was the high school phenom who, drew such big crowds that they had to go play in a college stadium for their basketball games. And, he's losing his grip on the NBA. And, with the retirement of Kobe, we're seeing the younger guys come in and take over the NBA. Steph Curry, even, like Paul George, Klay Thompson, those kind of guys. They are the next generation, and they're the ones who are going to change the NBA.
The abruptness of the change is what strikes me, because you have him, his final year with the Heat, loses to the Spurs in the finals. Then you have the return. You have the decision to, he comes back to Cleveland. He's the savior. He's the center of attention again. And then nothing.
Correct.
For the next few months.
Exactly.
They started like 19-20 his first year in Cleveland. Yes, they made it to the finals, but with not a lot of fanfare. And then they lost in 6 games to the team that's taken their place, the Golden State Warriors. Did it strike anyone else just how much it's changed, just how quickly it's changed?
Nobody saw Steph Curry coming before last year. I mean, MVP type numbers. I mean, last year I was even like, who is this guy? I've never seen this guy before. But now we have an MVP and one of the best 3-point shooters of all time in the NBA right before us, and I don't even know what to do with how fast it's changing.
Yeah, it's just, even the game of basketball is changing. It used to be, have the smaller, quick point guard, dish it off to the center in the middle in the paint, and, that's how you score. But now it's just go with the smaller lineup who can light up the scoreboard, and who is it? I think it was Charles Barkley who said it's ruined the game of basketball. I don't think I go that far, but it's obviously making it different, and it's going to change. It's going to change the game, and it's just going to have a lot of other players rise.
Let's wrap up our show here. Nate, any closing thoughts before we go?
Hey, just remember my Super Bowl pick: Cardinals over Patriots.
Any closing thoughts here, Evan?
The Cleveland Cavaliers are still one of the best 5 teams in the NBA. But given that, the gap between the Warriors and Spurs and everybody else is so huge that I don't think there's any chance that they win the finals this year. They'll make it, and they'll lose in 5 games.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my final thoughts. I'm just going to say that things are changing in every sport right now. You've got college basketball, we're having a shift of power. NBA, we're having a shift of power. Well, college football, we didn't have a shift of power, but whatever.
Yeah, more towards the Big Ten.
That's
away
true.
From the SEC.
That's true. But, with the NFL, we're kind of seeing it. The Panthers and Cardinals, who haven't had a lot of postseason success, are now playing in the NFC Championship. So this, honestly, the 2015-2016 season has been one of the best overall sports seasons that I've seen in a long time. Even in the MLB with, the Royals winning the World Series for the first time in 20-plus years. And then even Toronto making the playoffs. It's just been a great year for all sports fans. And, I just hope we get to see more and more great games and great tournaments and stuff like that as the year goes on.
And for my closing thoughts, I look for the Thunder, Tar Heels, and Panthers all to win the titles in their respective sports. And that's going to happen.
Cool.
Thank you for tuning into our show this week. As always, we'll see you next week.